Hardly like to say that, miss. He was a generous employer.
But you didn't like him.
Shall we put it that I don't care very much for Americans, miss?
Do you know of any bad blood between your master and Monsieur McQueen?
No, no, miss. Mr. McQueen was a very pleasant gentleman. For an American.
How long have you been with Monsieur Ratchet?
Just over 9 months, miss. Before that, I was with Sir Henry Tomlinson in Grosvenor Square. I was with him for several years before he left for East Africa.
Have you ever been in America?
No, miss.
Do you remember the Armstrong kidnapping case?
Well, yes, I remember reading something about it. A little baby girl, wasn't it? Very shocking affair. But what has that...
Your employer, Monsieur Ratchet, was the man behind the kidnapping.
I'm at a loss for words, miss. I can hardly believe it.
Are you a pipe smoker?
No, miss. I only smoke cigarettes. Gaspers, miss.
What did you do after leaving your master?
I told Mr. McQueen, miss, that the master wanted him. Then I came along here to my compartment and read. I was in bed by 10:30.
Who do you share this room with?
A big Italian fellow.
Does he speak English?
A kind of English, miss. He's been in America. Chicago, I understand. He was in here playing cards with another American, a Mr. Hardman. The game broke up soon after I entered, and Mr. Hardman left.
Do you and the Italian gentleman talk together much?
No, miss. I prefer to read. At present, I'm quite enjoying Love's Captive by a Mrs. Arabella Richardson. At about 10:30, the Italian fellow wanted to go to bed, so the attendant came in and made the beds up.
Did you go to bed then?
I went to bed, but I didn't sleep, miss. I had a toothache.
I am so sorry. Was your toothache painful?
Most painful, miss. I applied some oil of cloves, which relieved the pain a little, but I still was not able to get to sleep. I turned the light on over my berth and continued to read, to take my mind off of it, as it were.
You did not sleep at all?
I finally dropped off about 4 this morning.
Did the Italian gentleman sleep?
Him? Oh, he snored. I confess I envied Mr. Ratchet his sleeping draught, miss.
Did your companion leave the compartment at all during the night?
No, miss.
Did you leave the compartment at all?
No, miss.
Did you hear anything during the night?
I don't think so, miss. The train being at a standstill made it all very quiet.
Au revoir, monsieur.
Regardez, mademoiselle. Mille pardons. Et voilà.
Say, this is mighty nice. What can I do for you?
My name is Antoinette Marceau. I'm assisting Monsieur Poirot with his investigation. You know the name, perhaps?
It does seem familiar, only I always thought it was a dressmaker.
Monsieur, for all our sakes, please do not repeat that in front of Monsieur Poirot. Do you promise me?
I think I just about promised you anything. Oh, darn it, there I go, sounding like Mr. Ratchet. You had enough of him, I expect, at the market in Istanbul. I didn't mean anything by it except, well, except it's the truth. I love your accent. A little bit of British, a little bit of French, a lot of heaven. Darn it, there I go again.
It is not a problem, monsieur, but we must be serious now, don't you agree?
Serious, yes. Yes, of course.
You are Monsieur Ratchet's secretary?
Yes, for just over a year now. I met him in Persia. I'd come over from New York to look into an oil concession. I don't suppose you want to hear all about that. Getting oil out of Persia can get pretty difficult these days. Anyway, my friends and I had been let in rather badly over it. Mr. Ratchet was in the same hotel. He just had a row with his secretary, so he offered me the job. He was collecting antiquities, but not knowing any languages, was having kind of a hard time of it. I was pretty down and out, so I jumped at it.
What can you tell me about Monsieur Ratchet?
The actual truth is, Miss Marceau, it is Miss, isn't it? Wait, don't have to answer. None of my business. The truth is, I don't know anything about him. He never spoke of himself or his life in America.
May I have your passport, please?
Sure. Here you go.
What is your full name, age, and address?
Hector Willard McQueen. I'm 28. You're about what? 24, 25?
Your address, Monsieur McQueen?
That's right, Hector. Always saying the wrong thing. That's me. I live at 58 Warren Street, New York.
You must have formed some theory about him, Monsieur McQueen.
Well, yes, I did. For one thing, I don't believe Ratchet was his real name. I think he left America in order to escape from someone or something. I think he was successful until a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, what happened then?
He began to get letters, threatening letters.
I would like to take your fingerprints.
Would you really? Say, that's swell. I mean, of course you can.
Did you see these threatening letters?
Yes, it was part of my job to attend to his correspondence.
Do you still have the letters?
I've still got a couple in my files.
How did Monsieur Ratchet act when he received the first letter?
It's difficult to say. He passed it off with a laugh in that quiet way of his. But somehow, I felt that there was a good deal going on underneath the quietness.
Did you know that Monsieur Ratchet had asked Monsieur Poirot to help him?
No, I had no idea.
Did you like your employer?
No, I did not.
Why not?
I can't exactly say. He was usually quite pleasant in his manner. I'll tell you the truth. Antoinette, sorry, Miss Marceau, I disliked and distrusted him. He was, I am sure, a cruel and dangerous man.
Were you on good terms with your employer?
This is where I'm supposed to go all goose-fleshy and shifty-eyed, right? Like some thriller? You got nothing on me! And so on? Yeah, sorry, but Ratchet and I were on perfectly good terms.
When did you last see Monsieur Ratchet alive?
Last evening about 10 o'clock, I guess. Masterman fetched me. Mr. Ratchet wanted me to take down some memoranda for him.
On what subject?
Some pottery he'd bought, and a statue we were bringing back to Paris with us. It's in the baggage car.
Monsieur McQueen, you are correct. Ratchet was an alias.
I knew it! Who was he?
He was Cassetti, the man behind several notorious kidnapping cases, including the famous affair of little Daisy Armstrong.
That damn skunk! If I'd known that, I'd have cut off my right hand before I'd write another letter for him. May he burn in hell!
I didn't mean to upset you.
I have reason to be upset. My father was the district attorney who handled the case. I saw Mrs. Armstrong more than once. She was a lovely woman, so gentle and heartbroken. If ever a man deserved what he got, Cassetti's the guy. I'm rejoicing. A man like that wasn't fit to live.
You almost feel you could have murdered him yourself?
I do. Seems I'm kind of incriminating myself here.
Can you describe your movements last night?
Let's see. I fell into conversation with that Englishman, Colonel Arbuthnot. Then I went to take down some memoranda for letters Mr. Ratchet wanted written, like I told you. When I came out, the Colonel was down the hall waiting while the attendant made up his bed. He came along back to my room here, and we discussed world politics. The government of India, the Wall Street crisis. I don't, as a rule, cotton much to Britishers. They're a stiff-necked lot. But Arbuthnot is all right.
Did you hear or see anyone in the corridor while you were talking?
Let's see. Yes. The attendant passed along once from the direction of the restaurant car. I caught a glimpse of his uniform. Then I do remember some woman in a silk, scarlet something or other. Again, just a glimpse. She was headed the other way, towards the restaurant car.
Did you see her return?
No, now that you mention it, I don't think I did. But I suppose she must have.
What time was it that the Colonel left you?
Pretty late. Getting on for 2 o'clock, I'd say.
You were together when the train stopped.
Yeah, shook me up a bit. But the Colonel was as cool as ice water. He's been in some tough scrapes, I'd guess. A near train wreck didn't even make him blink.
What happened after Colonel Arbuthnot said goodnight?
I called the attendant to make up my bed, and then hit the sack.
What sack did you hit, and why?
I went to bed. Slept till morning.
Do you smoke a pipe, Monsieur McQueen?
Nope. Don't smoke at all, as a matter of fact. I know they say it's healthy, but I don't believe them.
During the evening, did you leave the train at all?
Only when Arbuthnot and I got out at Belgrade to stretch our legs. When we saw you. But it was bitterly cold, so we hopped back on again.
Which door did you use?
The one closest to here.
Do you remember if the door you used was bolted?
Yes, I seem to remember it was. At least there was a kind of bar that fitted across the handle.
Did you replace the bar when you returned to the train?
You know, I don't think I did. I remember now. I left it unbolted for you. Say, listen. Since we know that Ratchet was really that swine Cassetti, there's something you should know.
Yes?
One night, late, after he'd received those threatening letters, I heard him working at my typewriter. He never did that. He always dictated his letters to me. From then on, wherever we were, he insisted on access to the safe. Whatever that document was, it was important enough that he traveled with it wherever we went. If there wasn't a safe available, he had one installed. I know for a fact he had one installed in the security room in the baggage car. I saw it when we were loading his crate.
Do you have the combination?
If he didn't trust me to type it for him, you really think he'd give me the combination?
Au revoir, monsieur. I'll put this into my scrapbook so I can take a closer look at it later.
Yes, Fräulein.
Frau Schmidt, I am helping Monsieur Poirot in the investigation of Monsieur Ratchet's death. Will you assist me?
If I can.
May I have your passport?
Ja, here it is.
You are Hildegard Schmidt, aged 43, living in St. Petersburg?
Where I attend Madame la Princesse, ja.
I would like to fingerprint you.
If you must.
What can you tell me of your movements last night after dinner?
I moved very little. I read to the Princess Bleak House by the English writer Charles Dickens. The sudden stopping of the train interrupted us. Madame la Princesse luckily was not harmed. I returned to reading. I do not read aloud very well, but Her Excellency says that it is all the better. So it sends her better to sleep. When she became sleepy, she told me to go. I returned to the compartment I share with Fräulein Debenham.
What time was that?
It was very late. 1:30 or more.
tell me about Mary Debenham.
She is a very agreeable young lady. She was already asleep when I came in after reading to Her Excellency.
What color is Mademoiselle Debenham's dressing gown?
It is a pale purple. Mauve, I believe the English say.
Did Mademoiselle Debenham leave the room at all last night?
Not after I returned. I sleep lightly, Fräulein. You understand? Should Her Excellency require me.
Have you ever been to America?
No, never. I should like to go someday.
Do you know who this man Ratchet really was?
He was not wretched?
His name was Cassetti. He was responsible for the death of a small child named Daisy Armstrong.
My God! I have heard of that. The kidnapping. It was wicked. Wicked! We are not so wicked as that in Germany.
Is this your handkerchief, Frau Schmidt?
No, it is not mine.
It has the letter H, you see.
Ah, but it is a lady's handkerchief, that. A very expensive cambric handkerchief, embroidered by hand. It comes from Paris, I should say.
Did you see anyone as you returned to your compartment?
Only an attendant.
He was sitting at the end of the corridor.
No, Fräulein. He came out of one of the compartments in the middle. 2 or 3 doors from Madame la Princesse.
Was it Mrs. Hubbard's compartment?
It may have been.
But I saw him come out. You weren't in the corridor.
I most certainly was. He nearly ran into me, apologized, and hurried off in the direction of the salon car. A bell began ringing, but I do not think he answered it.
Then the bell started ringing?
Yes, Fräulein.
The attendant was Michel.
Our regular attendant? No, Fräulein.
What? What did he look like?
Small, dark. He had a little mustache. His voice, when he said, "Pardon," was weak and high-pitched. Higher than mine. I'd never seen him before.
Thank you, Mademoiselle Schmidt.
Hello, miss. There is more snow coming, I think.
Greta, you know Monsieur Poirot has asked me to help him investigate the murder.
Yeah, I have heard this. It is satisfactory with you?
Very. Will you help me?
I will try.
May I have your passport, please?
It is here.
Greta Sigrid Olsen, 49, of Stockholm.
Of course, I am a missionary now, nurse at the school in Gemlik, and not much in Sweden.
I would like to fingerprint you.
But of what am I accused?
Nothing, it's only formality.
Oh, I am sorry. Please fingerprint me.
You gave Mrs. Hubbard a headache powder last night.
Yeah, poor lady with the pain in the head.
That was around 10:40, I believe.
I am not sure.
Did you leave this compartment again after helping Monsieur Poirot?
His ankle is not so very injured, you know. I looked at it again this morning. I think he is not as brave as some of my little children.
After Monsieur Poirot.
I woke several times, of course, but it is because you were peeking out and leaving the compartment, not I.
After that?
When you finally settled down. No, I was very tired from all the activity. I slept. If I had gone out, would you not have noticed?
I'm not sure. You were here in the lower berth.
I slept until the morning. I slept soundly enough that you might have gone out again. I do not know about that, but I myself was sleeping.
Your dressing gown is brown, is it not?
Yeah, you have seen it for yourself. Very comfortable, of Jaeger wool.
Did you see anyone in the corridor when you took Mrs. Hubbard the medicine?
Not in the corridor, no.
Somewhere else?
I opened the door to the dead man's compartment by mistake. Mr. Ratchet, I was much ashamed.
What did you and Mrs. Hubbard talk about?
The pain in her head, it started at the back and sweep itself forward over her eyes and...
Anything else?
She asked me if the door between her compartment and Mr. Ratchet's is locked. I check it for her.
And?
It is locked.
Did you actually see him?
Yeah, in his bed he was, reading a book.
Did he say anything to you?
He laughed. He invited me. I do not care to repeat what he said. It inflamed my cheeks. I left at once, naturally, and went into Mrs. Hubbard.
That means you were the last person to see Monsieur Ratchet alive.
I am suspected of all the people aboard the train. I am suspected.
Have you ever been in America?
No. Almost I go once. I was to accompany an invalid lady, but it was cancelled. I much regret it. They are very generous, the Americans. They give much money to schools and hospitals, and they are very practical.
Do you remember hearing of the Armstrong kidnapping case?
No. What was that?
A little girl was kidnapped and murdered. Her mother and an unborn child died in childbirth. A member of the staff committed suicide. Monsieur Ratchet was the man behind the kidnapping.
That there are in the world such evil men. It tries one's faith. The poor mother, my heart aches for her.
Au revoir, mademoiselle.
Regardez, mademoiselle.